Darkness stretched across the Halvanna quadrant, like a shroud stitched from the remnants of 1,000 dying suns. In this void, where most ships fear to navigate, a single black vessel emerged, silent, sleek, predatory. It bore no insignia, but every ship in the quadrant knew its shape. The mere sight of its silhouette on a scanner was enough to trigger mass evacuations. The name whispered in desperation across frequencies was always the same, the Legion. Commander Sereth Val strode to the bridge of the dreadship Obsidian Crown, her black uniform flecked with silver thread and war-earned scars. Her eyes, mechanical in both nature and precision, scanned the holographic layout of the planet below. Virilia, a civilian world known more for its salt flats than military resistance. It would fall before the second moon rose. They always did. Estimated surrender time? She asked without looking up. 17 minutes, if they open channels, said strategist Norik, his voice like cool metal. 3 hours if they attempt resistance. Sarah said nothing, only tilted her head slightly. The gesture was enough. Norik made a sharp hand signal, and the order passed to the crew like voltage through a circuit. The Legion had no need for drawn-out sieges or political games. Fear did their fighting for them. They had burned a path across 7 systems in 6 cycles, leaving only silence and surrender banners in their wake. Each victory etched their creed deeper into galactic memory. Fear our name. But on this night, beneath the chill of synthetic starlight, Sareth's thoughts drifted, unexpectedly, away from war. Her hand moved instinctively toward the small talisman hanging from her neck, a simple glass sphere filled with crimson liquid. It was the only item she had salvaged from the ravaged moon of Caelus Prime, her home, long before she joined the Legion. The momentary stillness was broken by the incoming buzz of the bridge comm signal from Virilia. "Commander." "A child," said Norik, furrowing his brow. "Open transmission?" "Put it through." The hollow projector hummed to life. A flickering image resolved into a young boy, no older than 8, dirt on his face and dried blood at his collar. His voice was steady, not brave but not broken either. "Please don't hurt them. We didn't do anything to you. We're just people." The bridge fell unnaturally silent. Even the breathing of the crew seemed suspended. Sarah stepped closer to the image, studying the boy's eyes. They were wide and searching, but not afraid. That alone made her pause. "Name," she said flatly. "Iron." "My mother says names matter," he replied, a spark of confusion in his voice. "Do you have one?" Sarah did not answer. The transmission ended abruptly as Norik killed the feed. Civilian tactic. Emotional manipulation, he said, wiping the image from the projector. "They know what's coming. Shall we proceed?" The memory of Caelus Prime flashed through Sareth's mind unbidden. Her own younger sister, standing on the threshold of their home as the planet's sky cracked open and the firestorms fell. No warning, no negotiation, just obliteration, just like the Legion had taught her to deliver. "No," she said slowly. "Not yet." Norik blinked. A rare teleconfusion. "Clarify, Commander. Hold the assault. Full orbit lock. I want ground scans or any presence of military installations, weapon stockpiles, off-world beacons. That will delay the operation by hours. Then delay it." She turned and walked off the bridge, her boots clicking in the silence left behind. No one stopped her. No one questioned. In the Legion, command was absolute until it was challenged, and the only one who might challenge her was not aboard this ship. He waited instead at the heart of the Legion, High Executor Cale Trask, born of no planet, father to none. He had risen from the ashes of dead empires and forged a Legion from the unclaimed rage of 1,000 worlds. Sareth had once followed him without question, without deviation, until now, in her quarters, she watched the boy's message again. Then again, his words echoed not just in her ears, but somewhere deeper, somewhere she had buried long ago. The Legion did not spare lives. Mercy was an infection that could spread through discipline like rot through bone. But so was doubt. And in this boy's voice, she heard both. Hours passed. The scans came in no weapons, no resistance, only refugees, miners, and unarmed settlers. The full report rested on her desk, unopened. She knew what it would say. The data didn't matter. The decision had already been made. She stepped back onto the bridge. Norik looked up from his station. "We're ready for orbital strike," he said. "Cancel it." This time, the silence was not respect. It was disbelief. "Commander, our doctrine." "I said cancel it. Pull our fleet back beyond orbital range. No attack. No contact. Just leave." Norik stared at her. "You're ordering us to spare them." A voice behind him echoed across the bridge. "She is." Gasps hissed like steam. The soldiers turned. Standing at the entrance was a tall, lean man dressed in deep crimson, a contrast to the obsidian black of the Legion's command. His face was gaunt, his hair shorn close to the scalp, and his eyes held the cold gleam of someone who had forgotten how to blink. High Executor Trask had arrived. Sareth bowed her head slightly. "Executor, I wonder when a route would reach you," Trask said softly, as if discussing weather. "I watched you break the world of Haler in half. I saw you execute a traitor with your own hands. And now mercy." Sareth's jaw clenched. They pose no threat, no value in killing them. "There's always value in fear," Trask said. He stepped forward, close enough to be heard by only her. "Spare one life, and the galaxy learns we can be questioned, that we can hesitate. And if we hesitate, we die." Sareth looked past him to the stars on the screen. "Maybe we need to become something more than death." A flicker of disappointment crossed Trask's face. "I chose you for your fire. Do not become ash." He turned to the crew. "Stand down. The command has been given. We do not disobey leadership, even when it falters. Not yet." Then he was gone, as suddenly as he had come. The bridge once again in Sareth's hands. The obsidian crown broke orbit, leaving Virilia untouched. Word spread faster than the ship could travel. A Legion ship had arrived and left. No demands. No fire. No death. Just silence. A spared life, a spared world. And in that silence, something new was born. Not everyone in the Legion would accept it. Somewhere, far from the battlefield, a war had begun. Not of weapons, but of belief. The Legion's name was still feared. But now, it carried something else, something more dangerous than terror. Hope. The aftermath of Aurelia's untouched soil echoed to the galaxy like a tuning fork struck against the bones of the old order. On every war front, in every hidden conclave and fractured planetary council, one question surged forward with venomous urgency. Had the Legion grown weak? Within the steel-ribbed halls of the Dreadfort Three-Nose Verge, the question burned brightest. Set into the dead shell of the moon and suspended in orbit above the gas giant Iavar, Three-Nose had always been a monument to efficiency. Spartan, cold, unyielding. Here, where compromise was a heresy, Executor Kale Trask stood alone before a council of 12 hollow-faced strategists. Each had shaped empires from the carcasses of others. Each now stared at him with a silent accusation. You let her do it. Trask did not flinch. Commander Val acted on incomplete intelligence. Her decision not to strike was premature. It will not happen again. But his words rang hollow, even to himself. He had stood on that bridge, seen the certainty in her eyes. She had not hesitated. She had chosen. That was what troubled him most. A voice crackled from one of the strategists, more machine than flesh. 17 fringe systems have ceased tribute. One has declared open defiance. Another added, the Spiral Cartel has armed its merchant fleet. The Coalition of Suns is mobilizing reserve fleets under preemptive defense protocols. Even the Ulan mystics have broken silence. Trask raised a hand. Fear is a fire. It burns until the air runs out. Then it must be fed anew. The room fell into a tense hush, the kind that followed before orders were given to strip planets of life. Trask turned to strategist Maris, whose eyes gleamed through a visor etched with stars. Activate the Pyre Protocol. We will raise the Mer system. Target. Zephyra. Coalition stronghold. Send Val. She will remind the galaxy who we are. The sky above Zephyr boiled. Sarah Val stood in the command chamber of the assault cruiser Vex Talon. Her fingers curled around the cold steel of the console. Ahead, The world of Zephyr rotated in regal defiance, its oceans black with mineral tint, its continents ringed with anti-orbital defense emplacements. A proud world, a foolish one. Her face remained stoic, but beneath the stillness, her mind churned. This was not Virilia. This world bristled with war. No children pleaded for their lives through flickering broadcasts. Zephyr had fired the first shot. The Legion had come to answer. And yet, she hesitated, not out of doubt in the mission, but in the shadow that followed it. Since sparing Virilia, Sereth had become something new among the Legion. To some, a symbol of evolution. To others, a disease. She had not spoken to Trask since that day, but his presence was everywhere. Orders wrapped in veiled threats. Assignments intended to test her loyalty. This one most of all, her second, Ren Caliph, stood at her side, arms folded, every inch of her radiating controlled aggression. They've activated deep core shields. We'll need ground insertion to disable the planetary node. Sereth nodded. Prepare the Ashborn. Ren's eyes flicked toward her, cautious. And after? Sereth's reply was crisp. We burn the node, then we decide. The Ashborn dropped like black meteors from orbit, each one containing elite legionaries genetically spliced for urban warfare. Sereth led the drop herself, descending in silence with only the heartbeat of her suit breaking through the pressure. When they struck ground, Zephyr roared. The city of Lethira Prime met them with plasma and rail fire, defense drones buzzing like mechanical hornets through the air. Legion forces surged forward with methodical ferocity, slicing through resistance as if dissecting a cadaver. Every movement was recorded, every kill tallied. Sereth moved like living prophecy, her blade a thin sliver of blue heat, her sidearm barking out precision with merciless rhythm. Yet she spared none. Zephyr had chosen war. Mercy was not owed, and still it followed her. In the shadow of collapsed cathedral, she found a wounded soldier gripping the remains of a shattered drone. His armor bore the symbol of the old Ulan mystics. Strange, considering Zephyr's military should not include them. His eyes widened as he saw her. No fear, just recognition. You're her, he spat through blood. The one who left Virilia intact. Sereth paused. Her weapon did not lower. The soldier chuckled, coughing as he bled. They talk about you. The merciful butcher. The Legion that chose. Do you believe them? She asked quietly. I believe it scared them more than anything you've done. She fired once. Quick. Clean. Then turned away. The node fell within the hour. Zephyr's planetary shields collapsed in a wash of blue static. Resistance snapped like overstretched sinew. The fleet waited in orbit for the signal. The fire would come. The ash would fall. And yet again, Sereth did not speak the word. Back aboard the Vex Talon, she stood in silence before the final transmission relay. A single command, and Zephyr would cease to exist. Another warning carved into the stars. But something in her refused. What now? Ren asked from behind her. Trask will see this. They all will. Sereth's voice was quiet, sharp with finality. Let them. She closed the command line. The fleet stood down. 2 days later, Trask watched the unbroken surface of Zephyr on the command feeds with a face carved in stone. Around him, murmurs of discontent had begun to grow louder. Whispers, once harmless, were evolving into doctrine. Some called Sereth's path a mutation, others a betrayal. Still others saw something holy in it. Trask would not allow fracture. Not within. Not now. He activated a private channel. Commander Val. Her face appeared, pale against the blue glow of data feeds. Executor. You had a directive. I fulfilled it. Zephyr is neutralized. You left it standing. I chose not to waste fuel on ruins. They stared at each other across the void, each daring the other to speak the truth behind their words. Finally, Trask broke the silence. You're becoming something dangerous. So did you once. He ended the transmission without ceremony. In the dust-choked ruins of a command outpost, a whisper spread. Legion soldiers passed it like contraband, some with reverence, others with contempt. It traveled in low voices and encrypted messages. She spared Zephyr. Twice now. She could be the beginning of something else. A crack in the hull. Far away, in a fortress of stone and storm atop the asteroid world of Dre's Valka, a figure cloaked in white sat before a circle of flame. The boy, Iron, now older, his eyes more ancient than his years should allow, spoke into the fire as if into the ears of gods. "She's begun," he whispered. "The choice has been made." Beside him, a creature of shadow, half machine, half myth, shifted its wings. "The galaxy will tremble," it said, voice low as tectonic plates grinding. Iron nodded, but not from fear alone. The wind on Velo Station always howled, not because it was weather, but because the engineers had failed to correct the atmospheric resonance in the station's outer spine. Most considered it a nuisance. For Serethval, it was a reminder that even the smallest failures left uncorrected could become the background noise of a decaying empire. She stood before a tactical array in a command suite buried deep beneath the station's security decks. The room was cold, all brushed steel and retinal scanners, no windows. Outside, the Legion symbol still loomed in banners and holograms, but the reality beneath that sigil was beginning to crack. She felt in the silence of her officers, in the jittering uncertainty of planetary governors, in the way her own soldiers now hesitated before speaking her name. Ren Caliph entered with quiet steps. No salute, no formal greeting. Those days had faded. "They've pulled 3 fleets from the outer spine," she said, "redirected toward the inner core worlds. Something's happening." Sareth didn't look up. "They're circling the walls. They think I'm about to jump." Ren tilted her head. "Aren't you?" There was no immediate answer. Instead, Sareth tapped the hologram. Systems flared to life. Red markers over strategic worlds, orange pulses on disputed zones, scattered green over neutral territories. What once had been a sea of Legion black now looked like a body riddled with infection. "Have you seen the latest intercepts?" Ren asked, stepping beside her. "There's a new faction forming. They're calling it the Accord." "I've heard the name," Sareth murmured. "It's not just talk. Small colonies are pledging to them. Miners, refugees, ex-military. People we would have broken 6 months ago. And at the center of it, Iron." At that, Sareth turned. Her eyes, steel gray and unreadable, narrowed. "The boy." "He's not a boy anymore. He's a figurehead now. Somehow he survived in the dark between stars and built something. A message went out last cycle. He invoked your name." The silence between them thickened. Sareth moved toward the console, inputting a command. The screen shifted. A grainy hollow recording flickered on. Iron stood beneath a dome of shattered glass, the sky behind him filled with distant flashes of energy and fire. His voice was clear. "She chose not to burn us. She showed that fear is not the only currency of survival. And so, we remember her, not as a weapon of the Legion, but as a promise. If even one life can be spared, then the galaxy is not lost." Sareth ended the transmission with a flick of her hand. "He's painting a target on his chest." "Maybe," Ren said, "or maybe he's daring us to choose." Before Sareth could respond, the comms panel flashed red. An emergency relay. She activated it. The voice on the line was crisp, formal, and grim. "This is Prefect General of Arcorum. We are under siege. Unidentified strike vessels have breached orbit. Our planetary shields are failing. Requesting Legion aid." Sareth exchanged a glance with Ren. "Coordinates confirm?" "Confirmed. And there's more," Ren added. "It's not the Accord. These attackers are different. Tactics are erratic, brutal. No identity signatures. They're using our old call signs. Rogues." Sareth frowned. "Something worse. Looks like Legion tech, but no command hierarchy. No discipline. Imitators," Sareth muttered. "Or insurgents. Perhaps something deliberately loose to blur the lines between the Legion and whatever shadows were now crawling out of its hollow shell." "I'm taking a fleet to Arcorum," Sareth said. "You think it's a trap?" Ren asked. "Doesn't matter. If it is, we walk into it." Sareth departed within the hour, bringing with her only a single carrier and 2 cruiser escorts. Not a show of strength, just enough to keep everyone guessing. The Legion's full wrath was no longer hers to wield, and she knew it. Trask had ensured her leash was cinched tighter with each deviation. The transit to Quorum was short, but what awaited them upon arrival was carnage. The planet burned. Columns of smoke spiraled into the stratosphere. Orbital platforms had been shattered like glassware. The attackers had left no emblem, no transmission. They had not come to conquer. They had come to erase. Sareth ordered immediate deployment of peacekeeping ground units. No open conflict. Priority: civilian extraction. Wren's voice cracked through comms as she scanned the scene. This isn't rebellion. It's extermination. On the ground, Sareth walked through ash and static. The dead lined the streets in rows, arranged deliberately, grotesquely, as though someone had turned death into a symbol. "Wren," Sareth said quietly, "these formations, they're familiar." Recognition dawned. The bodies had been laid in the shape of the Legion's crest, twisted, inverted. A message. "We need to leave," Wren said, voice sharp. "Now." An explosion ruptured the sky above them. Not an attack. A beacon, Legion signal frequency, but corrupted, spiraling in pitch until it fractured their receivers. And then the voice. Not from the comms, not from any known channel, but from inside their ships, through systems hardwired to be secure. "You think fear can be turned off," the voice hissed. "But fear remembers. Fear obeys." Sareth clenched her fists. "It's a code ghost. Someone's using Legion subroutines to hijack comms." "No," Wren said, pale. "It's not just code. Look at the strike pattern. This is internal. Someone from within." In orbit, the Vex Talon shuddered. A vessel appeared, not emerging from hyperspace, but from stealth, sleek, silent, draped in black. It bore the Legion design, but its configuration was wrong. Twisted, missing registration. It opened fire. The Vex Talon returned volleys, but its AI reported conflict in protocol. The enemy's targeting systems mimicked its own. Confusion reigned. Command trees folded into each other. The ship began tearing itself apart, trying to decide if the attacker was friend or foe. "They've copied us," Sareth whispered. "No, they are us." The rogue ship transmitted only one message. A single glyph, half the Legion's emblem. Incomplete. Broken. As Saretha's ship limped from the field, battered and smoldering, she realized the shape of the new war. Not rebels. Not foreign enemies. Not even ideologues. A schism. Trask had seen it coming. He had let it fester. And now, something, was claiming the broken pieces of the Legion for their own. They would not just challenge her authority. They would strip it for parts and wear it like a skin. As the stars warped into motion and her fleet retreated into the cold silence of deep space, Sarah stood in the observation chamber alone, her reflection cast in red warning lights and static. She had spared a world. Then another. Now something else was showing the galaxy what not sparing looked like. Two paths, diverging into darkness. Only one could shape what the Legion would become. Sareth knew her next choice wouldn't just mark her legacy. It would define the future of fear itself. The silence inside the Hall of Reconciliation was unlike any other in the galaxy, not empty but weighted, as if generations of secrets pressed down from the ceiling, daring any voice to break the hush. It was built in the ruins of Cain Prime's last citadel, once the stronghold of philosophers and generals. Now, beneath its cracked vaults and flickering lightfall, Sarah Val waited. The Accord had invited her, not to surrender, not to parley, but to choose. Across from her, behind a transparent divide of kinetic glass, sat Iron, the boy grown into a man. Though his frame remained slight, his voice still soft. But his presence filled the chamber. There was gravity in him now, forged in exile and belief. He wore no armor, no symbols, just plain gray robes. His weapon was conviction. "I didn't think you'd come," he said. "I didn't think you'd survive," she replied. He smiled faintly. "We both done improbable things." Saretha's armor hissed as she sat. She had not come with escort. She did not need one. If this was a trap, she would carve her way through. But she knew it wasn't. Iron wasn't like Trask. He didn't deal in misdirection. He dealt in faith. I saw what happened on our quorum, he said. They used your voice, your name, but they weren't yours. No, she said. They were Legion once. Yes, Trask. She hesitated. Not directly, but it wouldn't exist without his silence. And without yours? Iron asked gently. Her jaw tensed. I didn't create this war. No, but you chose not to end it. She stared at him for a long moment. Do you know what they call you in the Outer Rings? I've heard a few names. The heir of the exception. They think I spared you so you could become this. And what do you think? Saratha's eyes narrowed. I think you're trying to reshape the galaxy with dreams. But it doesn't bleed dreams, Iron. It bleeds fire. He leaned forward. Then it's time someone stopped burning it. A pause stretched between them. Through the glass, light filtered in fractured beams. Somewhere far above, the stars moved without notice of their quarrel. You want me to defect, she said. I want you to choose, he answered. Fully, not this halfway. Mercy in secret, violence in public. The Legion follows you because they fear you, but they listen to you because you gave them something else. She stood abruptly. I gave them victory. You gave them a reason not to destroy everything in their path. I spared 2 planets. You spared hope, Sareth. The silence that followed was not confrontational. It was raw, unarmored. Iron continued, more quietly. There's a force rising behind Trask now. Something worse than him. They don't want control. They want collapse. A return to pure domination. You've seen it. The broken fleets. The corrupted comms. The mirrored tactics. They're not shadows anymore. They're becoming the main body. She didn't deny it. If you stay in the Legion, they'll twist you. Or kill you. And either way, they'll wear your legend-like armor. Sareth turned away from the glass. You think if I walk away, they won't still do that? No, Iron said, but you'll be alive to stop it. For a moment, the hall was still. Then, footsteps echoed from a side corridor. Ren Calith entered, eyes sharp, hand resting near the grip of her weapon, but her posture was relaxed. Neutral, she had followed Saratha's lead for years. Now she followed her to the edge of betrayal. Sareth met her gaze. The fleet? Ren nodded. Split. Quietly. No mass mutiny, but there's a divide. Enough loyal to move with us, if we give the signal. And the others? They'll wait. See who survives. Sareth considered this. Then, in a low voice, You came all this way to ask me to walk away from everything I built. Iron shook his head. I came to ask you to build something else. The words lingered. Later, on the flight deck of her personal cruiser, Sareth watched the stars beyond the viewport. They looked unchanged, impassive, but she knew better. Somewhere out there, the Ghost Legion plotted its next harvest. Somewhere, Trask prepared a final strike to silence her, or redeem her by force. She could remain. She could challenge him from within, clawing for relevance inside a machine built on fear. Or she could leave, not in surrender, but in defiance, in purpose. Behind her, Ren stood waiting. No orders had been issued yet, but the choice had already been made. Sareth turned. We break orbit. Set course for Lygia Prime. Lygia? Ren asked, surprised. That's Accord territory. Sareth nodded. Then it's time we stop knocking at the door. Ren hesitated. You know what this means? Yes. And Trask. Saratha's voice was iron. He's not the enemy anymore. He's the past. As the engines ignited and the cruiser surged into the dark, Sareth felt something she hadn't in years. Not fear, not anger. Freedom. But behind that freedom, the storm waited. In the command chamber of the Legion stronghold Karn Virith, Trask stood before a wall of encrypted data feeds. The rogue factions had grown bolder. Whole sectors were slipping. Saratha's name appeared in intercepted messages from across 7 systems. They were calling her not a deserter, but a savior. He activated a channel. No address, no code, just a whisper into a void he knew would answer. She's moved, he said. A voice answered. Feminine. Hollow. She chose. Trask's hands curled into fists. Begin the purge. Yes, Executor. As the channel cut, Trask looked out over a projection of the galaxy. Stars flickered. Territories blurred. The Legion's black tide still held most of the map, but lines were being drawn. And in the void, something darker than rebellion stirred. Saraval had chosen life. Now the galaxy would decide what price it would pay for that mercy.